Good afternoon and welcome to 3P Innovation. I'm David Johnson, I'm the Sales and Marketing Director here, and I've also got Ben Smith, one of our project managers. We've invited you along today for a product demonstration of our R500 robotic capsule filler. Part of the day we're going to have looking around the machine, getting to learn and understand the working guts of the machine. Then we'll hand over to Tom French, who's going to give us a presentation on the filter weight, which is our dosing technology. And then we'll come back, we'll run a live demo of the machine. So we're going to run a couple of recipes using Lactahale 300. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Lactahale 300, it's essentially the product that our customers ask us to prove our technology on. Why? Because it's a very difficult to handle product. Some of you may have already experienced it and had the challenge of trying to run it through your existing capsule filling machine. So it'd be interesting to hear from you possibly afterwards how you get on with that once you've seen this run. For those that aren't familiar, I'm going to hold it up to the camera. And you can see just how poor flowing it is. It really doesn't want to tumble around. It can clump together. And it's really poor flowing and very sticky. In fact, I've got to go beyond 90 degrees for it to really fall down. So you can see it's a very difficult and tricky powder to handle. So we're going to run 100 mg doses and 10 mg doses on our capsule filler, and so hopefully it's enough to keep you engaged for the afternoon. We are live. We're very much live. We are not actors, we are just engineers, so if there's the odd hiccup, I apologise, but hopefully we're going to put on a show for you today. So it's interesting, engaging, and possibly you might learn something as well. So this is the machine. You can see it's a standalone plug-and-play type arrangement. This model here has got an integrated isolator, so it's suitable for handling potent APIs. We can also add in environmental controls, such as RH control. The underneath houses the electrical cabinet and all the controls, so there's no separate cabinet to go anywhere. It's not bolted on the back of the side of the machine. So it's a very compact footprint, and then we've also got the integrated HMI. I'm going to hand over to Ben now, and Ben's going to take you through the insides before we go to Tom, who's got the presentation.
Hi, so this is our R500. As you can see here, we have glass doors on 3 sides of the machine. They all have glove ports in. This allows easy access when the machine is sealed for changing components over, adding materials, that sort of thing. The outer doors cover these safety doors over, and opening them up unlocks the safety circuit, rendering the machine safe. We have done something today so we can run with the doors open, so we can see, the camera can see in, so we have to make sure that each stop is pressed before we go inside. This is the machine over here. We'll let you come and have a view of the main modules of the machine. First, on the right hand side, we have our capsule filler. This is where the capsules come in and are orientated. They're collected from the capsule feeder by our Staubli TX240 SteriClean robot. The robot offers us a versatility of working on not only capsules but also devices, if that is what you require. The capsule in its titanium chalice is then placed over at the weigh cell, which is a Whippetech weigh cell. We offer a wide range of Whippetech balances, a high range of high-speed Whippetech weigh cells to meet your requirements. Dosing is done by the filter weight above it, which my colleague Tom will talk about in a moment. And the filter weight is kept topped up by our powder feeder. After the filling cycle has been completed, we then come over to our recombination and eject station. The capsules are then taken out of the robot and either into the accept or reject chutes and collected in a bag or by other means if you require. On the back of the machine, we can see a Gettinger RTP port. This allows for the keeping containment while adding in more materials, cleaning supplies or change parts. You can also see On the back panel, we have our the outlet HEPA filtration system with a pre-filter, and we also have an expansion panel on this machine. Expansion panel allows us to make some upgrades in the future on site. We have integrated lighting in the machine to give the user good access and visibility of what is going on.
Okay, thank you, Ben. So I'm going to hand you over to Tom. Tom's got a presentation for about 10 minutes talking through the filter-weight technology. That's really the clever proprietary technology that we have that facilitates this machine to dose these very challenging powders. Once Tom's finished, we'll come back and we'll run the machine.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Tom French. I'm going to talk to you a bit about why you might need powder filling technology, some of the things you're likely to be looking for, a bit about challenging powders, how our filter weight technology works, and the benefits it can offer you and your organisation. So why do you need powder filling technology? Perhaps you're looking to repeatedly fill and test different formulations during early stage development. You work for a CDMO and you want to fill a wide range of powders with very different properties on the same piece of kit. Or you've got a specific product that you're having trouble filling using conventional powder filling technologies. Microdosing API into capsules during preclinical development helps reduce time to first-in-human trials, and in some cases it can reduce the amount of formulation work required to generate test data for your API. Inhalation in particular continues to be a popular drug delivery route due to the numerous advantages it offers. With this comes the challenge of dosing powders formulated for inhalation. These powders are often susceptible to moisture, which can lead to changes in surface morphology and/or aggregation. Concentration may also not be uniform, which can lead to misleading test results during development. Inhaled powders also tend to have a small particle size and have high surface energy to mass ratio, so they tend to be highly cohesive, leading to poor flow. They also often compact during filling processes, which can lead to variable or poor device performance. Most DPI formulations rely on crystalline small molecule drugs that are micronized to a respirable particle size. To overcome their cohesive nature and lack of flow, these are often mixed with larger carrier particles to make an ordered matrix. The desire to deliver a wider range of molecule types for DPI, such as proteins, peptides, and RNAs, all of which cannot be crystallized or micronized, has prompted a large increase in the use of engineered particle technologies such as spray drying. Spray-dried powders present their own processing and handling challenges, and process conditions need to be carefully considered. They are often quite hygroscopic, meaning small amounts of water can cause surface adhesion. As such, they need low RH conditions for filling, sometimes between 10 to 20% RH, with some powders need to be filled as low as 5% RH. This can lead to powders and filling components becoming highly statically charged. They can have a low bulk density, so they occupy a high volume per mass, meaning you end up with large hopper sizes. They also tend to have high surface energies and can be quite cohesive, and can also be fragile and easily fractured and crushed. All of the above can cause issues with conventional volumetric filling processes, which tend to rely on consolidation approaching tap density in order to achieve accurate dosing. This results in the need for a filling technology which is gentle, non-compacting and low shear, which can also cope with both highly cohesive powders where there may be issues with static and also very free-flowing powders. Many filling technologies, such as dosators and augers, require some level of powder compaction in order to generate a consistent density, allowing a fixed volume of powder to be dispensed and therefore achieve repeatable dose weights. This compaction of the powder can have a large impact on both powder and device performance. Especially if early development trials have been performed using hand filling, this can result in measures having to be taken to mitigate the compaction and break up the powder during later stage production. For example, this could be done through secondary processing of the powder and device by providing some form of agitation to disperse the cohesive mass of powder. However, this adds additional complexity as another process to develop and validate. There's also the option of modifying features on the DPI device you're using in order to provide more energy to fluidize the powder, or even switching to a different device entirely. This can prove to be very expensive depending on how far your project has progressed and also have other knock-on effects. The best option is to select a non-compacting powder filling technology if you can. This is where 3P's filter weight technology comes in. I'm going to talk you through how our technology works, some examples of how its features can be used to dose difficult powders, and the benefits it has to offer. So how does our filter weight technology work? You can see here on the right a simplified cross-section of a filter weight filling head. There's a central dosing pin, some stirrer wires, a silicon hopper, and a nozzle. The dosing pin moves up and down in order to provide a pin opening for powder to flow through. The pin can also rotate with the stirrer wires in order to provide gentle agitation and help get the powder moving. And there's also piezo vibration on the nozzle to provide low amplitude vibration to help get the powder moving as well. All of these control measures can be adjusted in software, so there's no need to make any physical changes to the head. You don't need to change any nozzles. All you need to do is go into the software and change your pin offset, your pin opening, vibration frequency, vibration amplitude. You can set a target cycle time, and also you can adjust the stirring speed. So why are all of these different parameters useful, and how can they be used to overcome any challenging powders you may encounter? Looking at some examples here, say you've got a particularly cohesive powder, such as an API blended with Sorblack 400, what we can do is increase the vibration amplitude and pin offset. Increasing the vibration amplitude can fluidize the powder in the bed and help prevent bridging, and increasing the pin offset prevents any compaction between the pin and the nozzle, which would compact the powder and limit the ability for the powder to travel to the lungs. Say you've got a particularly free-flowing powder that's maybe spray-dried, we can set that pin offset to 0 so that that will completely close and won't allow any overdosing, and you're likely to only need limited vibration there, perhaps even none, so that can be turned off, again all through software. Because it's quite free-flowing, you probably want to slow it down almost in order to get accurate dosing. We can also increase the stirring speed just to make sure if it is coming out of the nozzle quite quickly, there's a consistent head of powder above the nozzle, so you'll get accurate dosing there. We can also use filter weight to dose microspheres, which are typically quite friable. They're easy to crush and break. So what we can do is set the pin offset slightly larger. Say you've got a 0.5 mil diameter microsphere, we can set that to just below that, which tends to then push the microspheres out of the way rather than crushing them. We can have a low stirring speed and low vibration just to really minimize the impact on those microspheres there from the filling technology. An important thing to talk about here is how does filter weight actually dose? So you've got your filling head, which is dispensing powder, and directly underneath that you've got a fast response weigh cell. This allows us to continually measure the fill weight throughout the dose as it's being delivered, and allows the system to very accurately predict when it needs to turn off, so that's close the pin opening and turn off the vibration, to make sure we get very accurate dosing every time, all of which are recorded. So every single dose weight that you are delivering is being recorded and is fed back into the system. You can see here what we can do in order to say if you've got a larger dose that needs to be delivered, we can have an increase in pin opening and a slightly higher vibration for a short amount of time. So this will dispense a large amount of powder in a short amount of time, and then we can close the pin opening down a bit, we can turn the vibration down, so this will slow down the mass flow rate, and we can trickle powder out so that the mass flow rate is lower, so your powder in flight between the nozzle and your device, however small that distance may be, is a smaller amount, making it easier to predict accurately when to turn off the system and get very accurate doses every time. I mentioned as well that the weigh cell data is fed back into the system, so continually over your batch the performance of each dose is measured, and those settings are adjusted throughout your entire batch to increase the filling accuracy over time. So at the start of the batch, if you've got a small amount of variation, if the powder properties are slightly different and those change throughout the batch, the system can pick that up and it can adjust your filling parameters over the course of your batch to make sure that you're always staying on target with your weight every time. So just to recap some of the key features of filter weight and the benefits it offers. So it's gentle handling of the powder, so that's low shear and low compaction. You've got 100% dose verification, so as I mentioned, every dose is weighed and recorded throughout your entire batch. You only need very low quantities of bulk powder to start filling, so depending upon your dose weight, if you've got say a 5 or a 10 milligram dose, you can need as little as 1 gram of powder to fill up your hopper, and you can dose nearly all of that powder from that. So if during early stage development, if you've only got small quantities of powder to use, you don't need very much to get going. You can fill with the small amount you've produced and then get test data from that very quickly. It's very precise, so we can fill down as low as 1 milligram and also up to doses as large as 5 grams if needed. And the dosing accuracy is typically 3% RSD or lower. We get very good results with this system. And dose time varies depending upon your powder and your dose size, obviously, but typical cycle times are between 2 and 5 seconds. Another key benefit of filter weight, which I'll touch on quickly, is scalability. You can see here the same core filter weight technology is used across all of our equipment, from manual and semi-manual benchtop systems through to the R500 and R1000 capsule filling equipment that you'll see here today, and high-speed filling lines for commercial manufacture. This continuity of filling performance and repeatability ensures your product's performance are consistent and repeatable all the way through from preclinical work, phase 1, phase 2, clinical manufacture, all the way through to commercial production. So it's the same filling technology, with nothing's being changed. You'd expect it to work in exactly the same way across all of those. It's probably also worth touching on early stage work. So for this, you'd likely use one of our benchtop systems, and for this, considering containment options is important. So our early stage benchtop systems can be used with any containment systems you may already have, or they can be integrated into a containment system that are typically with our R500 and R1000 systems. So these are fully contained systems capable of running API. And then obviously you've got your commercial scale isolators here with filter weight in, again, suitable of handling for API at high quantities at commercial production speeds. So thank you for listening. I'll now pass you back to David and Ben to show you more of our filter weight technology in action.
Thank you, Tom. So now we've run through how the filter weight dosing technology works. We've had a quick look around the machine. We're going to run it. We'll run 2 doses. We'll run a 10 mg dose and then we'll run a 100 mg dose. And Ben will take you through that and talk you through the processes. Okay. So let's put our masks on. We're running the machine open.
So we've got the machine in its ready to run position, and from here we need to give it our command to dispense some capsules. From here we will select our 10 mg lactahale dose that we have pre-made, and we can see we have some of the parameters Tom talked about here, our coarse opening, our fine opening. For a 10 mg dose we only do a single slope, so we only care about our fine opening and our fine vibration, our stirrer rate and our vibration frequency. You can also see here we have our cycle time. We have preset the pin opening on this machine for this type of powder. So from here we just need to request the job. We start off with the capsule filler, putting capsules into the robot. From the hopper at the top, they're selected in single file into the magazine. Within the magazine, we don't know if they are cap first or body first. They're then placed into the orientation block, where we ensure they come out body first to go into the chalice and robot tooling the correct way. We use vacuum to separate the capsules, with the body sitting into the titanium chalice. The robot tool transfers the capsule over to the Whippetech rain cell, and the filter weight head is lowered to minimise the drop height of the powder, helping keep the process as clean as possible. The filter weight head is made of stainless steel and PEEK with a FDA-approved silicone hopper, which is so it can easily be cleaned and with the silicone part easily replaced. The red light you can see on the hopper is a through-beam sensor, ensuring we keep a good control on the level of powder within that silicone hopper. This is kept automatically topped up by the powder feeder, which you can see just above the filter weight body. This has got a 2-inch tri-clamp at the top to allow for easy changeable of different accessories, whether that's a charge bag, a bottle, or a stainless steel cylinder to increase the capacity. From filter weight, we come over to the recombination station. The post on the recombination station ensures that the chalice is pushed up to the robot tooling and the two halves are put together. This distance can be also altered on the HMI if you wish to change the closing distance. After they've been recombined, they come over to the accept and reject. On our accept pin here, we have our length check measurement, making sure that the close length is within our criteria and the cap is present. See here, we set a target of 10 accepted capsules, which we have just achieved. We will now reject these last two, as we have had the 10 capsules out of the accept chute, which is a requirement for this machine. On the HMI here, this is our home screen. You can see we're still in operation. We also have some information about the batch. So we have our live weight from the weigh cell. We have our cumulative weight of the powder dose so far, our last dose weight, and we also have our last capsule length. In the bottom right hand corner here, we can see our filling graph, and this shows our single slope fill for this 10 mg dose. If I grow this graph, we can also see our pin opening with its actual positioning and our vibration. We have another graph available here which shows our dose weights, and with a 100% weight check from the Whippetech weigh cell, anything that is slightly below the our accept target has been rejected. What this graph would show me is that we have our transport lag set wrong, and that the estimation it makes for the full time is slightly too short for this recipe. And this isn't one of the loops. This is a loop that kicks in later in the process after the rest of the powder is settled in. So if we were to do slightly more capsules, this would self-correct itself and move that average to a more meaningful place. From here, we can move to a 100 mg dose without having to change any hardware. We know the nozzle is suitable for a size 0 capsule, as we've just used it. So from here, we go to our batch request page, and we select our 100 mg dose. If we load this recipe, you'll see we've now gone into a dual slope dose mode, one that Tom talked about earlier, which allows us to do large doses in a short time. We're again going for around the 2/3 and a third of the time approach that Tom talked about, with our fine opening reduced quite small here to give us that control at the end. So from here we can select how many we'd like, say 6, and we can request the job. come back to the HMI screen, you can see on here we have the very apparent dual slope of the this filling profile, hitting around the 2/3 and the 2 seconds, and then we're finishing about 7 seconds. If we were to go to our dashboard here, which shows our robot properties, we can see that from our recipe we have moved away slightly from where we started, and this is Filtrate optimizing itself for what it is trying to do at this moment in time. Come back to our home page and see we've done our 6 out of 6 accepted capsules, currently rejecting the last 2. Grow our graph and toggle our graph, and you can see our dose fields for our 100 mg doses.
Okay. Does it make the machine safe and then... Okay. So that's the demonstration. So we'll move to our Q&A session now. So we'll switch to our Q&A platform and we'll answer any questions that you guys may have. Okay.